There comes a point in life when innocence stops protecting you, not because kindness is wrong, not because trust is foolish, but because the more you observe people, the more you realize that human nature is not as simple as we were taught. Or we grow up believing that good hearts are always recognized, that loyalty is always returned, that honesty naturally wins. But adulthood has a way of pulling the curtain back, and behind that curtain, you often find something uncomfortable. You find that people are complicated. You find that motives are rarely pure. You find that emotions can be sincere one moment and selfish the next. And perhaps most painfully, you find that people do not always treat you based on your heart. They often treat you based on what they feel, what they fear, what they need, and what benefits them. This is not a cynical message, it is a realistic one. Because once you understand human nature more clearly, you stop taking everything personally. You stop expecting everyone to love the way you love. You stop being shocked by behavior that has always existed. And instead of becoming bitter, you become wiser. So here are 7 harsh truths about human nature, not to make you lose faith in people, but to help you stop losing yourself in the wrong ones. Truth number 1, people are often more loyal to their emotions than to their principles. Many people believe they are rational. They believe they live by values, standards, and strong convictions. But when pressure rises, when ego gets hurt, when envy creeps in, or when fear takes over, those principles often become flexible. A person may say they believe in fairness until fairness does not benefit them. They may preach honesty until telling the truth becomes inconvenient. They may talk about loyalty until their emotions shift and someone else makes them feel more validated. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn, especially if you are someone who tries to stay consistent. You expect others to mean what they say because you mean what you say, or you assume that if someone claims to care, they will care even when things become difficult. But many people do not operate from a stable inner code. They operate from their current emotional state. If they feel appreciated, they may act loyal. If they feel insecure, they may become distant. Or if they feel threatened, they may rewrite the story to protect their ego. If they feel jealous, they may secretly resent the very person they once praised. That is why words alone can be dangerous, because people do not always reveal themselves through promises. They reveal themselves through patterns, through what they do when life gets uncomfortable, or through who they become when their emotions are no longer flattering. A mature person learns not to be hypnotized by beautiful language. They learn to watch what remains true when emotions change. Truth number 2, many people like goodness, but they respect boundaries. This is a painful truth for kind people, because kindness feels like it should be enough, where you listen, you forgive, you show up, you understand, you give second chances. You try not to make anyone uncomfortable. You try to be the bigger person. And for a while, you believe this will make people appreciate you more. But human nature often responds differently. People may enjoy your kindness, or especially if your kindness comes without limits. Why? Because people unconsciously study what they can get away with. Not always in an evil way, sometimes simply in a human way. They test tone, they test tolerance, they test access. And when someone never says no, never pushes back, never protects their peace, others may begin to treat their goodness like an unlimited resource. This is why some of the kindest people end up the most drained. Not because kindness is weakness, but because kindness without boundaries becomes permission. Permission for others to take too much. Permission for others to expect your understanding while offering very little in return. Real respect is often born at the line where your kindness meets your standards. The moment people realize that yes, you are warm, but you are not easily controlled, or yes, you are patient, but you are not available for disrespect. Yes, you are compassionate, but you do not abandon yourself to keep others comfortable. The world does not always reward the softest person in the room, but it often remembers the person who stayed kind without becoming easy to misuse. Truth number 3. Envy is more common than admiration. People talk a lot about support. They say they want to see others win. They say they celebrate success, and sometimes they do, but only when that success feels distant enough not to threaten them. The harsh reality is that many people are comfortable with your potential, but uncomfortable with your proof. They like the dream version of you. They like the struggling version of you. They like the version of you that is talented but not too powerful, promising but not too successful, good but still beneath them in some invisible hierarchy. But once your growth becomes real, something changes. When you become more confident, more respected, more peaceful, more attractive, more disciplined, more financially stable, or more emotionally free, some people begin to respond differently, not because you harmed them, not because you changed for the worse, but because your growth forces them to confront themselves, or your peace exposes their chaos, your courage exposes their fear, your progress reminds them of their stagnation. And not everyone can handle that. This is why some people will support you loudly at the beginning and quietly pull away when you actually rise. This is why praise sometimes turns into silence, why familiarity sometimes turns into subtle resistance. Envy does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like delayed support. Sometimes it looks like backhanded compliments. Sometimes it looks like pretending not to notice your growth. Sometimes it looks like someone becoming colder the moment life starts opening for you. This is not something to hate people for. It is simply something to understand. Because once you understand it, you stop begging for support from those who were only comfortable with the smaller version of you. Truth number 4. Most people judge by appearances first, character later. We love to say that what matters most is the inside, and ideally it should be. But in real life, human beings are heavily influenced by what they see, sense, and assume before they know the full truth. People respond to confidence before competence. They respond to tone before depth. They respond to status before story. They respond to presentation before substance. This does not mean substance does not matter. It does, but often it matters after the door has already been opened or closed. The way you carry yourself, the energy you bring into a room, the calmness in your voice, the way you dress, the boundaries you hold, the confidence in your silence. These things speak before your character gets a chance to explain itself. That may sound unfair, because it is unfair, but it is also real. And once you accept this, you stop moving through life naively. You stop assuming people will automatically discover your worth if you shrink yourself enough, explain yourself enough, or wait quietly long enough. Sometimes, people only take a second look at you when your presence tells them, this is not about becoming fake. It is about understanding that human perception is often shallow before it becomes deep. And if you do not learn how the world reads signals, you may keep offering gold in rooms that only know how to recognize glitter. The wise person does not resent this truth. They adapt to it, or they strengthen both substance and presence. They become real, but also readable. And that changes everything. Truth number 5. People often care more about how you make them feel than who you truly are. This can be heartbreaking when you spend years trying to be genuine. You try to be honest, you try to be thoughtful, you try to be deeply yourself. And yet the reactions you receive are not always based on your true intentions or your actual character. They are based on emotional impact. If someone feels insecure around you, they may label you arrogant. If someone feels exposed by your honesty, they may call you harsh. Or if someone feels small next to your growth, They may interpret your confidence as pride. If someone benefits from your weakness, they may become uncomfortable the moment you begin to heal. In other words, people do not always respond to your truth. They respond to their experience of you. This is why misunderstanding is such a common part of life, or not because truth is invisible, but because perception is filtered through emotion, memory, ego, pain, and personal need. The same version of you can be called inspiring by one person and intimidating by another, warm by one, overwhelming by another, quietly strong by one, emotionally distant by another. So if you spend your entire life trying to control how everyone interprets you, you will lose yourself in performance. You will become exhausted trying to be harmless enough, soft enough, agreeable enough, impressive enough, simple enough, and digestible enough for every different kind of person. But peace begins when you understand this. You are not responsible for every projection placed on you. Yes, self-awareness matters. Yes, growth matters. Yes, humility matters. But at some point, maturity means accepting that some people will misunderstand you no matter how carefully you explain yourself. And some people will only see you through the lens of what your existence awakens in them. That truth hurts, but it also sets you free. Truth number 6, convenience shapes many relationships more than love does. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because it forces us to question the meaning of closeness. We want to believe that relationships last because of deep emotional connection. Sometimes they do. But many relationships survive because they are convenient. Convenient timing, convenient access, convenient emotional support, convenient benefits, or as long as you are useful, available, nearby, emotionally generous, easy to reach, and willing to carry more than your share. Some people will call that love. But the moment you change your role, protect your energy, move on, stop overgiving, or stop making their life easier, the relationship may suddenly reveal what it was built on. This is why some people only miss you when you stop serving a function, not when you are hurting, not when you need care, not when you feel unseen, but when your absence interrupts their comfort. That realization can feel deeply personal, but often it is not about your worth. It is about human attachment to convenience. Many people do not consciously ask, who do I truly love? They ask without realizing it. Who makes my life easier? Who makes me feel safe? Who gives me attention? Who helps regulate my emotions? Who stays even when I give little back? This does not mean love is fake. It means real love is rarer than many people think. Real love remains when convenience disappears. Real love survives discomfort. Real love does not vanish the moment access becomes harder or benefits become smaller. Real love can honor your boundaries without punishing you for having them. And once you understand this, you stop confusing familiarity with loyalty, or you stop calling every long connection a deep one. Some people were close to you because of alignment. Others were close to you because of access. Only time and boundaries reveal which is which. Truth number 7. Self-interest is one of the strongest forces in human behavior. This does not mean everyone is selfish in a cruel way, but it does mean that self-interest sits quietly underneath far more behavior than people admit. People protect their image, they protect their comfort, they protect their position, or they protect the version of the story that makes them feel innocent. They protect what benefits them, even when they claim to stand for something bigger. This is why apologies are rare when pride is involved. This is why betrayal can happen even in close relationships. This is why people sometimes choose what is easy over what is right. Or this is why truth gets distorted when accountability threatens identity. Self-interest does not always look greedy. Sometimes it looks like avoidance. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like pretending not to know. Sometimes it looks like doing what preserves the self, even if it costs someone else clarity, peace, or justice. This truth matters because once you see it, you stop building your life on fantasy. You stop assuming that because something is morally clear, people will automatically choose it. You stop expecting every person to sacrifice comfort for truth. You stop being shocked every time someone chooses themselves in a way that disappoints you. Instead, you learn discernment. You learn to listen less to ideals and more to incentives. You learn to ask not only what someone says, but what they gain. You learn to observe where pressure bends them. You learn that character is not what people claim in easy moments, but what they protect when there is something to lose. And strangely, this truth can make you wiser without making you colder, because the goal is not to become paranoid. The goal is to become clear, to understand that human nature contains beauty and selfishness, loyalty and fear, compassion and insecurity, love and ego, often in the same person. That is what makes people human, not purity, not perfection, but contradiction. And maybe that is the deepest truth of all. Human nature is not harsh because people are monsters. It is harsh because people are unfinished, wounded, driven, fragile, proud, hungry for love, yet often ruled by fear, capable of goodness, yet vulnerable to envy, or able to care deeply, yet still tempted by self-preservation. Once you truly understand that, you stop moving through the world like a child asking to be treated fairly by everyone. You start moving through it like an adult who sees clearly you still love, but with discernment you still trust, but with observation. You still give, but with boundaries. Or you still hope, but without illusion. And that kind of wisdom changes your life, because the moment you stop being shocked by human nature, you finally start mastering your response to it. And in a world full of reaction, that may be one of the rarest forms of power.